The emoluments clause really deserves some explanation and some understanding. Check out this conversation I had with the caller. And please ding the bell, share your comments. Love to read your comments. And share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel.
I was in a conversation with a family member over Thanksgiving about emoluments. And this family member said that because Trump is no longer the head of his company and he's donating and his net worth is going down, he is thus immune from emoluments. So I was just curious, what is emoluments, and is President Trump actually violating the emoluments clause?
The emoluments clause has absolutely nothing to do with your net worth. And Trump still is still the principal owner of the Trump companies, of some 700-800 companies that make up the little Trump empire. And what an emolument is a payment or a gift. And so when the Saudis come over to Washington, D.C., and they rent the entire floor of a Trump hotel for $227,000 a night, as I recall. Maybe that was for several nights. And lobbying groups are doing the same thing, sometimes to the tune of over $100,000. Renting lots and lots of Trump facilities. Sometimes they don't even use them. That's simply a way of conveying money into the pocket of Donald Trump. And whether he runs the company on a day-to-day basis or not, the money still ends up in his pocket. So that's an emolument. What am I missing here?
So basically, if he makes like $1 from it, then he is violating the emolument, right?
If it is from anybody who has anything to do with a foreign government or with any domestic entity that Donald Trump or any of the executive agencies could help. This is why every other president, in the modern era, has put who had any assets or resources and has put them into a blind trust. The most famous being Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter took his peanut farm. And yeah, the president probably, through the Department of Agriculture, could have something to do with peanut policy, right? Jimmy Carter took his peanut farm, put it in a blind trust, and gave it to a trustee, to a lawyer in I believe the guy was a lawyer, in Georgia, who took over running his farm, his peanut farm, and for the 4 years that he was president. And the guy and the guy was not allowed to even give reports to Jimmy Carter. So for 4 years, Carter had no idea what was going on. And the guy so screwed up Carter's peanut farm that when he left the presidency, he had to sell off a whole bunch of land just to recover it. He almost lost the entire thing. And, you could argue that's not fair to Jimmy Carter, but Jimmy Carter was trying to comply with the emoluments clause. George Herbert Walker Bush and George W. Bush, both multi-millionaires, put all of their assets in blind trusts when they became presidents. I don't know about Reagan. I'm sure, I know that he put his stuff in a blind trust. I just don't know if he, was super rich or if he was just, living off the, I'm guessing he was probably relatively rich, whether he was a centimillionaire worth more than $100 million or just an average millionaire, I don't know. But that's how it works, Aaron, and that's what the emolument, and there's two emoluments clauses. The one says that basically no officer of the United States government shall accept emoluments from any foreign source. And so the Secretary of State can't take, so this is why when, if you watch that show, Madam Secretary, they'll give the Secretary of State a gift and she immediately hands it off to a guy and says, put this in the museum, basically. So she doesn't get it, all right? So the Secretary of State doesn't get it. And that's true, that would be true of the president as well. But then there's a second emoluments clause in Article 2 that says that the president shall be compensated for his work as president. In other words, he gets a paycheck to be defined by Congress. They set his pay. But he shall receive no other emoluments while in office. In other words, he can not take pay from any other source. And it's possible that he's okay with that by literally not taking a paycheck from the Trump organization while he's in the White House. But we don't know if he's doing that or not because we haven't seen his taxes. But I think that you could also argue that, again, an emolument in that context would mean, with that Saudi money ending up in his pocket when they use the hotel, or even more blatant when he orders the U.S. military to stop at an obscure airport in Scotland that just happens to be next door to his failing golf club, and stay at the golf club, where the guys on their per diem literally can't even afford to eat in his restaurants because they're so expensive. But you and I are picking up the tab for their rooms.